All right, we're back on another Pick'em video. It is Monday, February 2nd in the NBA. We have a 4-game slate today, so definitely a smaller slate, but we're coming off 7 winning days in a row on YouTube. I just looked back and I was like, we've definitely won a few days in a row here. Yeah, 7 straight winning days on YouTube. And since January 14th, we've only had 4 losing days on YouTube picks. So absolutely wild. We're on a great run, seeing the board extremely well. Again, only 4 games today, but I got some plays that I'm really liking, want to dive through and analyze with you guys. So if that sounds cool, go to leave the video a like, comment something down below, subscribe if you are new. All those good things help YouTube push this video out a little bit more, and I appreciate everyone that does that. So let's hop into the recap real quick. And here it is, 1.66 units of profit. And we'll talk about Scottie Barnes first because he was our first player that played, and I was not feeling good going into, after this game. Scottie had 4 assists in this game. It was a horrible read. No one had assists really on the Raptors in general, but Scottie wasn't doing much of anything in that department. So I was like, dang, that's a bad read right off the bat. And then Sabonis got ruled out. So I was like, I really thought Sabonis was going to crush the Wizards here. That sucks. Now we got our plus money plays essentially to lead us to, home and to victory, and they come through for us. So Sam Merrill, great read over his 3.5 threes, his 4.5 threes. He had 6 threes, made his first 3 threes. He was getting them up, hitting them at a good clip. I think he shot 6 of 8 from 3, but that was a plus 148 win. And then again, had 0.2 units on the plus 320 win. So that was a great unit management, great read overall. And then Dylan Harper of his PRA, 15.5 at minus 102. He practically had that thing in the first half. And just so you know, guys, so this is, 3 red marks, but they only had 1 total unit here, as opposed to like Dylan Harper was a 1-unit play as himself, and Sam Merrill was a bunch of plus money, and he had 0.9 units on him. So unit management's huge. Make sure you're taking into account what I'm, staking on each thing. I'm not going to put a unit on Scottie Barnes to get 10 plus assists for plus 1,000. I'm only throwing like 0.1 units on that. So keep an eye on that. Again, reading the board really well, seeing the board extremely well, and Scottie Barnes scared me a little bit, but Dylan Harper and Sam Merrill pulled through for us. And I got to flex it just a little bit. Since January 14th, again, there's going to be some losers here and there, but our winners, there's so many more winners, obviously, because the hit rate's been insane, but the winners have been crushing their lines, and a lot of losers have been really close. So again, a lot of winning days, only 4 losing days since that 14th of January, and just seeing the board extremely well. I'm proud of what I'm doing, proud of what I'm putting out, and I know you guys are appreciating it, so thank you very much for watching. So that's enough for recapping. Let's talk about the 4 games that are actually happening here. And because there's only 4 games, let's talk about the injury report. Let's talk about the projected minutes. Let's talk about my thoughts just right off the surface of who's playing, who's not playing, and who might get a bump because of that. I know a lot of people get a lot of value from me talking about this. Like Kevin Durant's out. You might want to know that and see the projected minutes. But we'll start with the Pelicans and the Charlotte Hornets. And then again, we will actually go over the actual plays I'm going to, but we'll run through this real quick. Pelicans, Charlotte, this is a 3 p.m. game. This game was moved up because of weather, I think, in New Orleans. And this is the projected minutes for this team. They have been pretty healthy. Zion and Trey Murphy going to get as much time as they can handle. Sadiq Bey is an absolute bucket. Herb Jones, he could be one of those guys that gets traded here. Derek Queen's coming off a few good games. So they're starting 5. I think they will get the minutes. We've seen Yves Missi. We've seen Derek Queen kind of trade off minutes. I think Derek Queen, the past few games has been pretty dang good, and I think they'll run him out in a matchup against the Hornets, who have also been pretty dang good here. I'm not saying the Pelicans have been good, but they've been better than what they have been, especially with the injuries that they've been dealing with all year. Only DeJounte Murray's out, and he's been out the entire year. Then we got the Charlotte Hornets. Again, they have been cooking. They found Diabate as their starting center. He's a vibes guy, and their whole lineup is clicking with a whole lot of fun out there. They're playing with joy. They have great announcers. If you have not watched the Hornets, this is an early game. If you got some time, maybe throw it on. And they have great announcers. So if you can find their stream, really, really good stuff. Concanepo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Diabate, and LaMelo. Those are their main guys. Now, Colin Sexton's the guy we faded the other day. He can score in a hurry. And then if anyone gets in foul trouble or things like that, they don't mind running Kalkbrenner a little bit more here. Like if Diabate runs into foul trouble, he's probably the guy that I'm looking at for an extra boost in minutes. But you want to be looking at the main guys here. This is a great matchup for a lot of players to score against the Pelicans too. So it could be a fun one too, midday, 3 o'clock Eastern time for me. Kind of get some action down on. Then we got Houston and Indiana. This is a 6.5 point spread, and we got no Kevin Durant. So that's huge because Reed Shepherd, I immediately want to look at. He gets a huge usage boost without Kevin Durant in the lineup, 5.5% usage boost. And then Tari Eason, another guy that's going to get a decent amount of run. But this is, Kevin Durant averages, 26 points a game or something, or 25 points a game, whatever it is. Huge usage guy, and he's going to be out. There's going to be a huge boost for a lot of these other guys. Now they're going up against the Pacers. Honestly, immediately I'm thinking Reed Shepard's assists or his points. His points line is pretty high, but the assists is not the most amazing matchup for a guy against Indiana, but something I'm definitely considering. On the Indiana side of things, still no Obi Toppin, but they're pretty healthy here. Minutes can definitely go, kind of crazy. Benedict Mathurin has been back for a few games now. His minutes have been creeping back up towards that 30-minute mark, and he's actually someone I'm looking at. So this is the projected minutes for them. Again, pretty much fully healthy. The guys that are going to get the minutes, they're pretty much locked in. Siakam's going to get that 35 minutes unless this is some big, huge blowout. But again, no KD. That's going to hurt the chances of a blowout. So that's better for, attacking overs if you like to do that. Minnesota and Memphis, we got Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, both questionable. Obviously, you have to know if these guys are playing or not. As of right now, here's the projected minutes, but that could totally change. So I'm not going to go over them for too long here. Memphis side of things, we know there's a ton of injuries. There's still no John Morant. I think the biggest thing here, I'll mention Santi Aldama too. Jaren Jackson Jr. questionable. Ty Jerome, he's a very good player. Played for the Cavs last year, and he's been injured. He returned last game, only played 19 minutes, and had like 20 points in 19 minutes on not even the most amazing efficiency, like 50% shooting. So he's looking like maybe he takes the charge of the offense. We'll see how many minutes he gets today, though. Like, don't get happy to get his overs, right away unless they're a good line, because he might only get 20 minutes or so. He missed the first 40 games of the season. So this guy's been out for a while, but really fun to watch. And again, he can get stats in a hurry. But other guys that are getting big boosts in usage, Jalen Wells. I mean, we can actually see the on-off court stats here. Jalen Wells definitely going to be a guy that gets a big boost. KCP, I guess, is getting some boost. Jaren Jackson, if he does go out there and play. But especially if Jaren Jackson doesn't play, there's going to be a lot of options to go to here. You just want to be looking at, games without those specific guys, probably in their, position too. So if Jaren Jackson sits, maybe you want to look at some of these other bigger guys that are coming in here, like a Jacques Londale, to get some more action and things like that. Philadelphia and the Clippers is the last game of the day. Paul George is going to be out for 25 games for, violating the anti-drug policy. He took something by accident, is what he says. But Joel Embiid's probable here. We've seen, Philly run this for a while. Guys that are going to get big boosts. Kelly Oubre now, into that starting lineup. VJ Edgecombe. These are guys that are, going to be getting boosts without a guy like Paul George out there. And here's the projected usage boost. Kelly Oubre, huge usage boost. Quentin Grimes, a guy they might look to trade here. So maybe they put him on display. And then Joel Embiid has been really, really good the past few games. And then for the Clipper side of things, we got no Harden potentially. He's a question mark. I think he missed last game recently. Kawhi snubbed from the All-Star game. He just played, I think, pretty well yesterday. I don't honestly remember. And then John Collins has played really well over the past few games as well. But we want to know if Harden's out there. He kind of runs his offense. But if he doesn't, you're going to look at guys like John Collins. Even Jordan Miller has been pretty consistent in those minutes. But on off-court stats, it's not going to show without Harden. But that's what we got going on. So those are the 4 games. Just my quick original thoughts from looking at the games right off the bat, looking at the injuries, and giving you guys all the projected minutes. Hopefully you get something from that. But let's actually start talking about the plays for today, the ones I'm honed in on, and then I'll get you guys out of here. So jumping into Props Madness like we always do to go over our plays, the best visual data tool out there. Really fun to mess around with the filters. You're going to be watching this video and you're like, I got to try that thing out. There's a link in the description down below. It's my link. It lets them know that I sent you there, and you get 25% off your first month. So definitely check out Props Madness. And I am going to go with Benedict Mathurin here against the Rockets, who obviously is a tough matchup, but it's a closer spread here, 6.5. The Pacers are home, and it's a horrible rebounding matchup, I will say. But I'm looking at his 4.5 boards here, minus 110 on the over. We can see for the entire year, he's over this in 59% of games. Now, Mathurin has dealt with injuries this year and is just recently coming back from an injury. But like I mentioned in the breakdown, he missed about a month, let's say, played 25 minutes, then he played 28 minutes, then he played 32 minutes. So the minutes are trending upwards. The only thing that's scary here is, first of all, obviously the rebounding matchup. He played these guys once earlier this year, and he only had 3 rebounds. It was a 7-point loss, and he played 26 minutes. But I don't mind it too much because he's been rebounding really well. And this team doesn't allow a whole bunch of rebounds. But again, KD is a big guy out there. They don't have Steven Adams out there. And you can see guys that are playing similarly to a guy like Benedict Mathurin, going over their lines 56% of the time, positionally 67% of the time. So in terms of rebounds to position, they do rank 6th on the entire year. I don't know if we can see that change over the last 10 games. Doesn't look like it, but like last 10 defense rebounds allowed, that's going to be games without Steven Adams. They are giving up more rebounds recently. You can see that in the hit rate of guys per position. So I don't know if this is the worst rebounding matchup in the world anymore without Steven Adams out there, and of course without KD out there. That's just another big guy to grab boards. So I like Mathurin here. Again, the head-to-head doesn't look amazing. Only one game, 3 rebounds, 4 rebound chances. That's not too many. But I think the minutes will be there. Again, creeping back up since the injury, projected for, I think we said 30 or so minutes in this game earlier. 31 minutes is a projection. So I do expect, if this is not a blowout, 28 plus minutes, 70% hit rate on those. He does land on 5 a lot. This is not one I'm going to ladder up, also because it's not the most amazing rebounding matchup. But I like the odds here, -110. I like the hit rate here. I like the spread that it's plus 6.5, plus 5.5, wherever you're going to find it. It's a lower point total, which means probably not a whole lot of shots. The pace is slow for this Rockets team, but they are looking a little bit different without Steven Adams, who's one of the slower guys. And then again, like I've mentioned 5 times, no KD out there. So really low point total, 219.5. Does that mean, less shots potentially, but does that also mean less, scoring? This is, a good defensive team potentially too. And they're giving up last 10 days, again, more rebounds defensively, 21st ranked. And obviously Benedict Mathurin, not a huge offensive rebounding guy. He's going to get most of his rebounds on the defensive end. If he can get some offensive, that'd be great too. Last 10 for offensive rebounds allowed, 15th ranked. So no Steven Adams. This is not the most amazing rebounding team ever in the world anymore because of that. And Benedict Mathurin, with the minutes on the court that I expect him to get, I think he can, do it for us. Again, 28 plus minutes, 70% hit rate the last 20 games. For the entire year, 71% hit rate. 30 plus minutes, 76% hit rate. And then even just getting rid of the minutes here and looking at games without Obi Toppin, we'll look at games, with Pascal Siakam, with a guy like Aaron Nesmith. He's over this in 71% of those games as well. And again, if you pump the minutes up, let's just say it says 26 over in 80% of games, 26 to 35 minutes over in 3 or 4 games. And again, that one game was against the Rockets. They didn't get there. So maybe you don't like this one. Again, it's up to you if you guys want to take it. Just something that I like, especially at the price tag of -110. I'll roll the dice. I think he's going to get the time. Now, do I think the Rockets cover this spread? Probably. It's weirdly low against the Pacers. But I do think Benedict Mathurin's minutes are creeping back up to normalcy. And without Steven Adams, without KD, I like his chances to grab some boards in the amount of time he should get. And if you don't like the read on Benedict Mathurin, again, Reed Shepherd would be the guy I look at. I got this at 14.5 at -115 on ESPN Bet. It looks like you're going to get it around -122 on FanDuel. And he's only over this in 27% of games, but 14.5 points without KD. We saw his on-off court stats, even in games that KD plays, just when Reed Shepherd's on the court without KD. Gets a big usage boost. And we've seen 2 games without KD this year, 31-point game, and he had a 7-point game, but he shot 2 of 9 and 1 of 5 from 3. I don't love the matchup extremely. This isn't the best matchup in the world. It's not the most amazing defense, but they just don't allow a whole bunch of threes. Defensive rating, they rank 21st in total. But I think he's going to get a lot of time in the court. I think he's expected right now for 24 minutes. So if we're going to see games that he's seeing, 22 plus minutes, the hit rate gets a little bit better. Defensive ratings, favorable defensive ratings, 42% hit rate. And again, we're not even taking the fact that KD's not in this lineup. So I like this spot for him. He has played the Pacers once before, shot 6 of 12, 1 of 5 from 3, and had 13 points. So did pretty well against this team in a 7-point game in 24 minutes. So I think Reed Shepherd should get around 24 minutes once again, maybe even a little bit more if he plays really well starting off. But he can also get really hot in that fourth quarter too. But again, not the most amazing matchup. He can do some damage in the pick and roll ball handling, but this is not a great catch and shoot, not a great above the break 3 matchup for him. But something I want to point out, 14.5 seems pretty doable for the guy. It's also looking at his assists. I think it's 3.5 for plus money. Games without KD, again, I think he's over in both games. You have 5 in both of those games. So someone to look at, Reed Shepherd for sure, especially if you don't like the Mathurin read. Moving into another game here, though, and another play I like, Rudy Gobert to get a double-double for plus 110. Pretty good value plus money. Now, he's going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. He just played these guys 31 minutes, and he didn't get there, but he had 16 rebounds, just couldn't get the points, and he shot 50% from the field. Rudy Gobert, bigger dude, can shoot more than 50%, better than 50%. A lot of times. Now, there's a few indicators in terms of the injuries. Potentially no Anthony Edwards in games without Anthony Edwards. He's gotten a double-double in 66% of games. And also potentially no Julius Randle. So 2 of their bigger guys are questionable today. If one of those guys sits, that's going to help the points line here. And when you look at the rebounds, I think this is a pretty good spot for him to get 10 rebounds. Look at the 10 plus rebounds. He's over in 85% of the last 20 games. He's over in 66% of games in general. And he's got 16 rebounds in both matchups here against the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies can keep this thing close. It's a 7.5 point spread. And I think it's probably because maybe one of these guys sits. We'll see what happens. And if one of those guys does sit, again, just a huge boost for Gobert, more in the points department than the minutes department. You can see without Anthony Edwards, he's over his points line in 56% of games, and he's getting 10 plus points in 66% of those games. So if Ant sits, again, huge boost for him. If Randall sits, we haven't seen a game without Randall on the court for Gobert this year, but if Randall sits, another boost for rebounds and points. And me thinking that the Grizzlies can stay in this thing if one of these guys sits is another big indicator here. So I don't mind the double-double at plus 110. I think it's great value. And again, we're looking at the rebounds not being a shoo-in, but definitely looking pretty good here. A lot of guys going up against this team, getting the rebounds, 20th ranked in terms of rebounds allowed. It's really him getting the points. Can he get the 10 points? And again, done this in 56% of games. Is it the best matchup in the world? No, but potentially no Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a great defender. But even if Jaren Jackson Jr. does play, I mean, this is a guy that's getting 30-plus minutes in most games, and he's a big dude. We're not asking for too much for him to get 10-plus points. So a lot of injury indicators here that's kind of, making me look harder at this one. And the plus 110 price tag, I think, is pretty dang good for a guy that can get a double-double on any given night. So I like the price, and I like the spot for Gobert, especially if one of these guys sits. But even if they don't sit, if Jaren Jackson plays and both these guys play, I still think he can get there. But there's just a big upside if they don't. Jumping to the next play here, I like Tyrese Maxey. I think it's going to be a Tyrese Maxey day. Over his 25.5 points, minus 110 on ESPN or the score. Now, Maxey has not been scoring a lot recently, but we've also seen an explosion from a guy like Joel Embiid over the last 7 or 8 games. He's scoring a ton of points. Now, I'd argue that Tyrese Maxey is a better matchup here against this team, against this Clippers team. Defensive rating to his scoring position, that's above the break threes. I think Maxey can get some threes to fall today. Now, he's played these guys once already. He had a lot of success, 39 points against this team, but that was without Joel Embiid. Now we get probably Joel Embiid. He's probable as of right now. And interestingly enough, looking at the entire season, Maxey's over this 25.5 points line in 69% of games. Without Embiid, he's only over in 65% of games. With Embiid, he's over in 73% of games. And again, recently, it hasn't been great. But I want to look at those specifically, those 7 last games, those last 7 games that we've seen Embiid kind of dominating. And in that time, it's not like Maxey's not shooting a whole bunch. This game, I think, is a complete outlier. He shot horribly, didn't shoot a lot at all, and they lost that game by 37. I think we can throw that one out the window. This is a 2.5 point spread. Should stay relatively close. Maxey's torched these guys before. And let's look at the games he's not getting there. This game, shot 4 of 9 from 3. I think that's pretty good expected. But he shot 7 of 18 from the field, under 40%. I think, Embiid, they've definitely relied on Embiid a little bit more. I'd say Tyrese Maxey, not his best game in the world. He's had a 40-point game with Embiid still cooking. He's had a 36-point game against the Rockets here. Great defensive scheme overall. And then the other 2 games, 22 points here, 9 of 19. Shot pretty well, but 2 of 8 from 3. And against the Knicks, only 15 shots, 8 of 15, 3 of 7 from 3. So he's had some games that are here. It's okay, that's pretty mediocre. He's had a bad game here and there, but the volume hasn't really fallen off a cliff. You can see 25 shots, 28 shots, 15 shots. I'd say that's a little low for him. 12 shots, horrible game. They got crushed. 19 shots. I think that's a decent amount of volume. Maybe gets to the free throw line a little bit more. 18 shots here, crushed the line, and then 18 shots here, just didn't shoot very well. So I don't think the volume has fallen off early. I just think Tyrese Maxey has not been playing, up to his standards recently, and Embiid, they've really been highly revolving around him. What is that word I'm thinking? Relying on him. Now, again, let's go back to the matchup for the Clippers. This is not a team that gives up a lot of free throws. Embiid gets a lot of free throws. And if we actually want to look at Embiid real quick, this matchup's not great. Free throws, post-up, pick and roll, big man, they're all top 10 in all those forms of defense. Now, am I saying Embiid's going to have a bad game? No, this guy's been cooking. I'm not betting on his under for sure. But I think a good spot would be, hey, this guy's been on fire. Teams are definitely taking notice of that. And they have pretty good spots to defend where he scores the ball. This is almost, 50% of his points are being top 10 defended by this team. So free throws, post-up, pick and roll, big man, all pretty good defensive schemes. And again, you go back to Maxey, this is a good team overall, good defense overall. You go back to Maxi though, and you can see 10th in defensive rating, pick and roll ball handling, they're 14th. Again, free throws, but isolation, spot up, all these other ones, they're more mediocre. And above the break threes, I think he can do some damage. So down low, they're pretty good. I think Embiid might, not struggle, but I think they're just going to rely on Maxi a little bit more. The hit rate's not amazing. I'm not taking Embiid's under, but I think the best value would be saying, hey, Maxi's line's pretty dang low for a guy that can score a whole lot of points, and he's done it against this team already. You get no Paul George, you got Embiid. Tyrese Maxey throughout the entire season has actually scored better with Embiid on the court. So I like the spot. I think it's a bounce back spot for Tyrese Maxey. Have a good game, and he's got a good spread to do so with the potential for a lot of minutes. And I know I focused a lot on the last 7 games where Maxey hasn't looked amazing, but again, let's zoom out the entire season. I showed this before, but Embiid, he's over this in 73% of games. So yes, he hasn't looked great in the last few games, but this is still Tyrese Maxey, still probably the best player, if not 1A, 1B on the Sixers. And he should get the volume here. They're not going to just throw everything in Embiid, especially in a matchup that doesn't look amazing for Joel Embiid. So Maxey's a player that can hit this line. And if you find it 24.5 and you pay the juice, I think I'm just going to take the 25.5 because the hit rate doesn't change. But that's enough on Maxey. I think he's a bounce back spot for him, and I like it a lot. So we're going to jump into the recap of what we actually went to in this video in a second here. But first, shout out to Pickett. If you're not on Pickett, I don't know what you're doing. Again, code RichPicks when you sign up. You get $3 or $100 when you sync your first sports book. This is a free bet tracker for you guys to use. You want to know if you're winning or losing your bets, and Pickett, absolutely the best one out there. Lets you know if you're winning, today, over the week, over the past month, the past year, all time, what sports you're doing well in, what sports books you're doing well in. And again, yes, they have PrizePicks, Underdog. They have it all. So again, use code RichPicks when signing up for Pickett. It's a free bet tracker. You get $3 or $100 after you sync your first sports book, and it's seamless after that. They do all the work for you, and you go on there, see if you're winning or losing. So that will do it for this one. Hopping into the recap, what we actually went over in this video. I talked really long for a lot of these plays, but there was only 4 games, so I went really in depth on all of them. And I don't know if you guys were like at the 4-minute mark of talking about Tyrese Maxey. You're like, dude, we get it. Move along. But yeah, we talked about a bunch of them in depth. Benedict Mathurin over 4.5 rebounds. I'm throwing 0.75 units on it because we're also attacking Reed Shepherd's points at 14.5. Both 0.75 unit plays just because they're in the same game. Now they kind of correlate because if this is a closer game, hopefully these guys are both getting a ton of minutes rather than if it's a blowout. Maybe Reed Shepherd gets some time, but Mathurin loses some minutes. So I think they go hand in hand, but again, only 3/4 units on both those. But these are both 1-unit plays. Rudy Gobert's double-double. I think he can get the rebounds. His line's at 12.5, and he can, get 9.5 boards a whole bunch of times. Great rebounding matchup. A lot of injury news in this one to talk about. So, big boost potentially if anyone sits. But I like a spot here, plus 110 value. And then Tyrese Maxey, I think it's a bounce back spot for him. 25.5 points, minus 110. You can find this at 24.5 for like minus 130, but I don't mind the 25.5 for paying a little less juice here. So 3.5 units down on a 4-game slate. Love to see that. You guys can check out Pickett again, check out Props Madness. That was the tool I was using all throughout the video. And check out my Discord community, get access to all my plays and just a fun community where we're talking sports, props, and, celebrating our wins together, complaining about players that are selling our slips. It's a fun time. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Again, 7 winning days in a row. What the heck is going on? We're absolutely dominating. And, smash the like button because of that. Comment something down below. I really, reply to most all of those. And I appreciate every one of you guys that are watching. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.